following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys? Yeah!
This is the Players Lounge, broadcasting live from Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star. Now your hosts, Barry Church, Danny McCray, and Newy Scruggs.
All right, everybody, it is a Friday. It is a cold day here in Dallas-Fort Worth, but more importantly, we are blessed enough to have power in our SWBC Mortgage virtual home studios. I'm Newy Scruggs, longtime Cowboys broadcaster, joined by Barry Church and Danny McCray, two former Dallas Cowboys players. All right, I'll start with you first. Danny, how has your week been, my man?
Listen, Newy, I'm going to tell you this. Maybe it's just based on location or something. I don't know, but I was blessed enough not to lose power or water. We've been good this whole time, so the baby has been warm enough, been able to sleep, didn't have to hear none of that. So, man, I've been blessed. I got no complaints.
Good.
Yeah,
good,
man.
Good. Church, what about you? I know you got little ones over at your house.
Same here, man. We've been blessed with the ability to not lose power, man. We had power, we had heat, water, all that good stuff. Kept the faucets dripping so the water pipes didn't explode. But it's been a crazy couple days, man. I'm glad you had power down there, Danny, especially with your little one, man. That thing's still like a couple months old, so glad you had power out there. What about you, Newy?
Listen, this is the one time where I'm glad that I am not in my great city of Houston in the great state of Texas. This is the only time in my life where I was like, you know what? I'm glad to be in Frisco versus Houston.
Ooh. Indeed. Look, I'm lucky. I've never lost power. Had no issues with water. I know in certain cities, and I saw Barry, where you're at, they were talking about you had to boil water to drink.
Yeah.
So I've been lucky. And here's the one good thing about working for a TV station is I knew that bad weather was coming, just because it's been a part of, just my world. The weather comes on before I do sports. So just looking at the 10 days, so I had gone and gotten some of those essential things beforehand. So, didn't run out of eggs, didn't run out of orange juice, those kinds of things that I knew the run was coming. So I was lucky on that end. But like I said, I'm blessed. All three of us are blessed. Hopefully, Chris Beam, our producer, you've been okay as well. But for anyone out there who's had some family members and friends, know that we here on the Players Lounge, okay? We're here on the Players Lounge podcast. We're with you, and those of you who've been able to have some power and join us today, we'll talk some football and try and take your minds a little bit off of what has been a really tough week. And as we can look at the temperatures are going to go up. So hopefully this time next Friday, we're all talking about what was, and everyone is all good. The Cowboys, in my opinion now, have an excellent opportunity here. With Philadelphia trading away Carson Wentz, with Washington having a quarterback question because Alex Smith is not going to come back, with the Giants having a turnover-prone quarterback in Daniel Jones, the Cowboys not only have the best quarterback in the division in Dak Prescott, they've got a guy who's an accomplished Pro Bowl quarterback here. Fellas, I think if you're Dak Prescott, you're his agent, you guys even have more chips that you can go to bring to Jerry Jones in terms of leverage and say, hey, this is a division that if you can keep your people healthy, you can win. And if you play your cards right, you might find yourself in a nice position to host not one just playoff game, but maybe be able to host a couple depending on how this thing falls in the NFC. You got Drew Brees leaving the Saints down there. I mean, I'll start with you first, Danny. To me, Jerry Jones got to go ahead and get this Dak deal done.
Yeah, listen, this has been years and years in the making, man. So I don't understand what the holdup is. I don't think Carson Wentz being traded away really gives Dak more leverage. I think he's holding as much leverage as he possibly can, especially, watching how the Cowboys performed last year and how the salary cap is this year and how they'll be handicapped if they have to pay him $37 million to take that cap hit. I think he's holding all the leverage that he could possibly hold. So, the Carson Wentz thing is not that big of a deal to me. But Newy, the way you say that we already have our quarterback, the best quarterback in the league, listen, we have him for, in the NFC, we have him for about another month. And then we have no idea what's going to happen. All right, so I'm gonna say this. And hope it's not true. But you could possibly be seeing your last month of Dak Prescott if Jerry Jones and Steven don't get this thing worked out.
Ooh, and that's the point right there, D-Mac. I mean, we're over here talking like, Dak's going to be for sure here. I mean, we've been talking about this for the past year, man. I mean, earlier in OTAs, we were speaking about how, it's going to be a done deal. Before July 15th, it's going to be a done deal. Then he gets tagged. We'll work it out before the end of the season. We'll get it all done. And now we're here, man. We're here at the end of the season. And talks seem to be further apart than they were during the offseason last year. So I'm not quite sure he will be back. I think at the very most, he might be back as a franchise tag. But then you're in the same predicament as you were this year. So for me, I think Dak has all the chips in his playing card right now. If you look at that division, I mean, like you said, look at the quarterbacks out there. Is Washington really going to go forward with Tyler Heineke? I mean, he played well in that playoff game, but can he do that for a period of time, a whole season? I don't know. He had one good game. I don't know if he can keep that going. Then we go to the New York Giants. Like you said, Daniel Jones is a walking turnover. We've seen it happen time and time again. Their defense is better than ours, and their offensive line, as of right now, is better than ours. But you can't win with a quarterback that's turning the ball over like that. And Jalen Hurts, he has a lot of upside, but I'm not sure he can be that dynamic of a quarterback and lead that team in Philadelphia to the playoffs as a shambles that's been up there. So for me, the division is for the Cowboys to take, but they gotta get their guy done. If they don't get their guy done, I mean, open the doors for Double G. He might slide up in here and win a division, but overall, you got to get Dak done. You got to. Church, you know what? Every year is the same conversation. This is everybody around the whole entire nation that watches football and is engaged in the Dallas Cowboys says the same thing every year. Man, this is the Cowboys division, man. Every time something goes on around the division, and it's like, this is the year. This is the year. And 7 times out of 10, it's not, right? We've had the rookie year with Dak and Zeke. I think we had another 12-4 year. Outside of that, it's been our division every time to win, and we somehow don't win it. So I'm just not falling for that one again. Daniel Jones and them, I think that, with a second year under JG and them bringing in a couple pieces, they'll still be able to compete. They competed with us when we had Dak this year, for the most part. And I think they still had her. They got Saquon coming back. We don't know about Jalen Hurts. This will be his second year, getting into the rhythm of things. So you never know what's going to come out of Philly. So, I mean, it's not, it's not said and done that if we sign Dak, that we're all of a sudden going to be the division winners.
Now,
but the odds are in our favor, man. They got to be in our favor.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of my point here is, if I'm Jerry Jones or Stephen Jones, I've got to look at this and say, hey, there are other question marks around the league. We've got a pretty good answer at the biggest question in this league and in this division. As a quarterback that you can trust and a quarterback who's accomplished. So, to me, give Dak Prescott the 4-year deal, which really becomes a 3-year deal, because we all see these quarterback contracts and last year some crazy number, and then, you figure it out from there. Kind of like in Pittsburgh, where Ben Roethlisberger's last year right now is $41 million, and they're not going to pay him that. So if it's a 3-year deal, fine. Let it be a 3-year deal. See where you can go. Because in 3 years, you'll have a whole thing where you can look at, okay, we got Dak up, we can get out of Zeke's money. I mean, you can really make some decisions here after 3 years about what you really want to do. But to me, when I start to look around and say, and fellas, just think about the whole NFC. Well, you have a good opportunity. And Danny, you're right. We've been fooled time and time again about what we thought they could be. But I'm going to sign this contract give him the 4-year deal. I got my quarterback, and for 3 years, let me see where this thing goes. And after 3 years, well, you're just like most teams in the National Football League. You're going to have to go ahead and reassess this thing. So try to get as much as you can done right now. That's my opinion, the way I look at it, since we just saw this Carson Wentz trade.
And look, we all know that you can't go anywhere in this league without a franchise quarterback and somebody that can lead this team. I mean, every time you get an outlier here and there with the 2000, Ravens or some team like that who has an unbelievable defense and they can drag along any offense, but that's kind of an outlier. We all know that to go far in this league, you need a franchise quarterback. And we believe the Dallas Cowboys have that in Dak Prescott. We just don't understand. Well, at least I just don't understand. If you trust him, if you're the Joneses and you're the front office, if you trust this guy, you know he's your franchise. You keep saying all the right things in the news reports and the media. This is your guy. This is who we want as our Dallas Cowboys leader. Why don't you just pull the trigger? I just don't understand. What is the hold up here? We're just putting ourselves behind the 8 ball further and further as long as this thing keeps going on. Just pull the trigger and get this thing done with. It's got to be.
I got you, Church. Listen, answer this question. So what happens when you have a guy on a play it and prove it deal and then he get hurt, 3 or 4 games into the season? Did he prove it or not? I think that's where Jerry and Steven are sitting at. Last year, we talked about how they put him on a franchise tag because we weren't sure if they really trusted him to be that guy to take him 3 to 4 years, into the future and win the Super Bowl. So they were waiting to see, pay him $35 million. If you take us into a deep playoff run, then we'll have that money sitting there waiting for him. But they're stuck in this hard place to where they're not really sure. They didn't learn anything more than what they had already known last year because they didn't get to see if he was going to be able to take this team to that deep playoff run. So I think it's tough for him, but they're going to have to figure it out, man. They got to figure it out quick.
And for me, it's like I just don't get like you said, D-Mac. They gotta figure it out quick. And it seems like to me, the front office, they sided with the players because they got a new coordinator in here. They got Mike Nolan out here. They got Dan Quinn in here. So I feel like they think that Dan Quinn can change these players into something where we don't need to add so much on defense. And if that's the case, then you got all this money. You got to plunge on Dak. There's nothing else to spend the money on. If you're siding with the players and you think on the defensive side of the ball, Dan Quinn can get the most out of his players and they can turn the clock back a little bit and get that defense rolling, you got to spend the rest of your money on Dak. You got to get that for sure quarterback in the locker room and on your team. And he's right there. Like Newy says, he's right there for your team for the taking. You got to get it done.
So Danny, I'll push back on what you said here. One thing we know is last year at the deadline, they tried to get a deal done, ran out of time. So I'm anticipating just kind of the history we've seen with the Cowboys is they're going to try and get something done again at the deadline. And this deadline is obviously, it's coming up here in March in terms of you want to get this thing done before free agency and you got to start to put the tag on. So let's just hope deadlines make a deal here because they got to get this deal done so they can add the rest of the pieces to help this football team here and get into free agency. If you got to hold $38 million under the cap and you can't lower that number, it really will prohibit the Cowboys from trying to get the rest of their team taken care of, especially helping the defensive side of the ball if you got a couple free agents that you want to go ahead and sign. So I think that's a part of it. And Church, a name we've spoken about here a couple weeks ago, Ricardo Allen, a safety, a guy that Dan Quinn knows. Here's a guy the Cowboys could go get. And to me, getting this Dak deal done so you can try and put some dollars towards getting a Ricardo Allen in here who knows this defense, I think that would be a big help for the Cowboys and a help to the younger guys back there, a guy in the back end who could teach this defense.
I think that'd be huge. Like you said, Ricardo Allen, he's been in this system. He was in Atlanta for 6 years. He played under this Dan Quinn system. I don't think he'll break the bank as far as dollars are concerned in the back end as a safety position. So you can put him back there on a relatively good team deal. He can be that quarterback of the secondary. You got a young, strong safety in Wilson. You got Trayvon Diggs out there. Hopefully, we go get, his other counterpart from Alabama. We get him at the other corner, and you got that veteran safety back there who can control these pieces, kind of like chess back there, get these guys in the right situations. And I think you can get the most out of the secondary. It's not that it's not talented back there. It's just I don't think they had any direction or leadership back there. And if you get a guy like that who already knows his position, knows the Dan Quinn system, I think he could get these guys in the right direction. And maybe we can see a clock turn back for this defense.
I think the Ricardo Allen idea is a good idea, but all this stuff hinges on Newy and his belief in Jerry and Steven being these deal makers, and they always get their guy and they never get out of the building that he's been holding on to for 2 years. And my thing is, Newy keeps going back to they tried to make this deal at the last minute. If you're the Cowboys and you're trying to make a deal, how much credit do you get for offering somebody something that they already said they are 100% not taking? All right, the dude won 4 years. If you come back and say, hey, we trying to make a deal, but we still got 5, that ain't trying to make no deal. The man already said he don't want that. So you know what I'm saying? So just say, hey, man, we tried to call the dude because we wanted to tidy up that 5-year deal and throw a little bit more on there. He already said that's a non-starter. So you're not really trying to make the deal that he want. So it's no credit to that. Until they turn to say, hey, man, I want a 4-year deal, they ain't getting this deal done.
Money talks, though. If they put that 5-year deal at something at 5 years at about 40 a year, I mean, he might sign it. He might go for it.
Now,
I don't know, man.
So go back to what I was saying here on the podcast. I said do 4, which really comes down to 3. And if the Cowboys look at this, this whole process right now, we got a 3-year window for our football team. That to me, right now, that's what I'm looking at. We got a 3-year window for this football team. Let's see what we can go get done here and go from there. Look at the 49ers. And the kind of window they had with Jimmy Garoppolo here, which is really, by all accounts, you read Tim Kawakami and the other folks that cover the Niners out in the Bay Area, Jimmy's going to be gone. Or at least they're trying to figure out a way to get Jimmy gone, especially after they passed on Tom Brady, who wanted to play with them last year. So I look at this thing right now as a 3-year football window with what they've got. So in 3 years, Danny, in my opinion, between Zeke's contract and a whole bunch of other people who you've got under long-term deals with Tank and Tyron Smith, in 3 years we're going to have a real good notion of whether these guys are done and they need to press the button and move on or continue with a couple of guys here. But I think that's why I would give them a 4-year deal, which comes out to about 3 years, because the 4th year is going to be large in terms of Dak's cap number, and work from there.
You better hope we hit on these draft picks. That's all I got. We better hope we hit, or we're gonna be 8-8, 9-7. We might get a 10-6 year, and then we starting over.
But that's every team.
We can't.
You think about it.
That's true. That's true. But a couple other teams got money in the free agency they can bring in too. We seem strapped right now, but it could work out. If Will hits on these draft picks, it could help out.
All right, let's take a break here. When we come back, something about this Carson Wentz deal has got me scratching my head. I'll dive into that next with Danny McCray, Barry Church, Players Lounge, brought to you by Hotels.com right here on DallasCowboys.com radio.
Adjust your cleats, adjust your pads, even adjust your helmet, but seriously, don't adjust your underwear, because once it's seen, it cannot be unseen. Tommy John's fabric keeps you cool and dry on the field or in the stands, and now they even have loungewear. Yeah, loungewear. Shop underwear at TommyJohn.com/Cowboys for 15% off your first order. That's TommyJohn.com/Cowboys.
Hey there, Cowboys fans. With Tide Cleaners at-home pickup and delivery, cleaning your clothes has never been more convenient. Simply sign up at your local store, set out your dirty clothes, and one of our Tide Cleaners professionals will come directly to your home for a totally contactless experience. Your clean garments will be returned promptly the next scheduled delivery day, so skip the errand and enjoy life, not laundry. Visit TideCleaners.com or your local store to sign up for Tide Cleaners at-home pickup and delivery today.
Grab some OtterBox gear and get ready for hanging with the boys. From rugged venture coolers to tough as nails elevation tumblers, we've got what you need to keep your game day drinks frosty and your football feast ice cold. And with cases, screen protectors, and power accessories, you can defend your phone and stay connected to every play. Gear up at OtterBox.com and amp up the fun of every Cowboys game. That's OtterBox.com.
Is your family a Cowboys family? Have you taken holiday photos at the Star? Was your wedding theme blue and silver? Have you convinced your kids them is spelled with a D? If so, every game day feels like a vacation to you, so treat it like one. Whether you're traveling to the game or watching from your favorite vacation spot, book a place to stay on Hotels.com. Proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
Back to the Players Lounge.
Hey, looking for something to change up your dinner routine? Help support local Frisco businesses by choosing one of over 30 restaurants at the Star District. For more information on delivery, takeout, curbside pickup, and dine-in options, visit thestardistrict.com. You are in the Players Lounge on DallasCowboys.com radio. I'm Newy Scruggs, joined by two former Dallas Cowboys safeties, Barry Church and Danny McCray. All right, we were talking about the Carson Wentz deal earlier, and there's a couple things that really have me scratching my head. Number one, they fired the head coach, Doug Peterson, who won a Super Bowl for them. And you thought you fired Doug because you wanted to bring someone new to coach Carson Wentz, but they didn't do that. Though they brought in the guy who was under Frank Reich, who Carson Wentz liked. I thought that was the thing. But now they've traded Carson Wentz to the Colts to go back with Frank Reich, which is where he wanted to go. So they get a third-round pick from Indianapolis in 2021, and then Philadelphia's got a conditional second-round pick. And I'm not sure if you guys understood the conditional parts of the deal for that second-round pick in 2022, which is if Carson Wentz plays 75% of the snaps this year, it becomes a number one. If he plays,
which he will.
Okay, and if he plays 70% of the Colts snaps and they make the playoffs, it becomes a number one. So basically, he's traded for a 2 and a 3 or a 3 and a number one. Fellas, I don't understand why the Colts would go ahead and pull the trigger on a player who's been injured, a player who, by all accounts, you start to read it because, you know, once you guys leave, everybody wants to start saying everything, which is they're saying this dude ain't real coachable. They're saying he's not a real coachable guy. I mean, if you're not coachable, how does this work?
Look, man, Frank believes in himself, man. Frank was like, look, you know, I was there when Wentz was on his MVP run, when they were 11-2, and if he didn't tear his ACL back in, week 13 or week 14 back then, he might have ran away with the MVP. He thinks, look, he has all the confidence in himself, and he thinks he can get the most out of Carson Wentz. He feels like he's young. He still got him for a couple of years. And look, man, I mean, at the end of the day, I think like the rest of the world thinks. I don't think Carson Wentz is that good. But I think Frank believes more in his coaching abilities and getting the most out of Carson Wentz than the rest of us believe. So maybe he pulled the trigger on the right instance. I mean, he has a good offensive line. He has a good run game. Receiving core, it's up and down. If I was them, I'd re-sign T.Y. Hilton. But overall, I mean, he has a tailor-made team that kind of fashions what they did in Philadelphia back when they made that Super Bowl run. So, I mean, Frank believes in himself, and he pulled the trigger.
Yeah, I don't get it. I'm not that much of a believer in Carson Wentz, and I definitely don't think that he's a 1 and a 3 better than Phillip Rivers. I think that he's an upgrade. He's an upgrade over Phillip. I think that he's going to play a little bit better. They might have a little bit more confidence in him because he's able to move a little bit more, but not a 1 and a 3 better. So I don't get it. I think it's all Frank. And, you know, him not being coachable to other guys, I think Frank believes that he's that one guy who can really get a handle on Carson Wentz and get him to playing a little bit better. And they went with the known versus the unknown. I think they just went with safety, and, you know, they figured that they're close and they just need one piece that's it was a little bit of an upgrade from Phillip Rivers, so they took that chance on Carson Wentz. So they pushing all the chips in, like Newy talked about with Dak. Push all the chips in now.
Let me ask y'all a question real quick. For a playoff team that doesn't think it's, you know, that far, maybe just one quarterback away from getting to Super Bowl, do you think a first-round pick is that valuable to that team? Because they're going to be picking in the late 20s anyways. Do you feel like it's that valuable to them?
Yeah, look at the Rams, man. The Rams give away all their first round picks, man, and they go for the known. You know, they have players that are already proven, who they know what they can do. They've seen it versus going with a quarterback that possibly could be a bust. And then, you know, I heard them talking about it earlier. If you look at the recent history of some of these quarterbacks that get picked in the first round, it's not a good look. So you never really know what you're going to get, going with these first-round quarterbacks. So he went with what was comfortable and safe for him, that he knew that he can get the best out of Carson Wentz.
I do believe they've got a good general manager in Chris Ballard, who's done a very good job at filling in the holes. with other pieces on his football team. They need a left tackle here. They really need a left tackle, especially with the fact that Carson threw the most interceptions in the league last year and took the most sacks. So here's a guy that's not always self-aware. So if they can upgrade the position there at the left tackle, let's see what they can do. I am just trying to understand how everyone keeps going back and wanting to say 2017. How many years are we going to keep talking about what this guy did in 2017? you start thinking about it now. In 2017, what was that? President Trump's first year in office? He's gone. He's gone now. I mean, think about how long ago 2017 was. Ezekiel Elliott's second year in the league, and people are talking about how great Ezekiel Elliott is, and right now people are like, man, has Zeke lost the step? Is he still that guy? So a lot can change. So why does it change for everyone else? And we talk about, man, maybe this guy doesn't have it, he's not what he used to be, but Carson Wentz, we want to keep on saying, hey, man, 2017, man, he almost won the MVP. That dude ain't done it since. I mean, you guys played. How long do you get to keep on saying, man, back in 2017, man, I was that dude, and you're not that dude.
Hold on. Do you think that if Carson Wentz doesn't get hurt, that he's able to take them and win the Super Bowl against Tom Brady?
No.
I mean, neither. So I don't want to hear nothing about this 2017 thing. I think the best thing that happened for them was Nick Foles came in and he was a big change. People didn't really know what to expect, and he caught a lot of people off guard. And he was out there playing with reckless abandon. He had nothing to lose. That wasn't Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz was playing good. He possibly could have been an MVP. But when you go on a Super Bowl run, sometimes you got to get lucky. Sometimes you got to strike gold. And they struck gold with Nick Foles, and I don't think they would have had the same end result if it was with Carson Wentz.
I don't know about that, man.
I just think Nick, for some reason, Nick Foles just fit what they did. He did. He just fit what they did, and I go back to this. There's an interesting conversation I was having with somebody about these two guys, and there was a Texas Longhorn fan. I said, Nick Foles is Major Applewhite, and Carson Wentz is Chris Sims. Chris Sims came in as the big recruit, the guy that had the arm, and he looked like he was the part. But yet when it came to just winning football games, it was Major Applewhite. He wasn't big, he didn't have the grade, but he just knew how to win games, and the other guys around played for him. And that, to me, was kind of how I looked at that situation. Remember, Carson gets hurt the next year. Foles comes in, and he's able to do well. So I think that system fit him. Obviously, it's gone now because they brought in Sirianni to be the head coach. But I'm with you, Danny. I just don't believe that Carson Wentz was going to be the guy that won the Super Bowl. Kind of reminds you of Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner came in and he was able to get that thing done, and then Trent Green, who got hurt for St. Louis that year, ends up going to Kansas City. He never won a Super Bowl. Didn't even play in a championship game, to my knowledge. But sometimes it just works out, and that person who takes over is that dude.
Church. So you don't agree, right? You think Carson Wentz was?
I mean, they were 11-2 at the time, so it wasn't like this guy was out here just losing games and they were a mediocre team. They were leading the division. This guy was an MVP candidate. Now, I'm not saying he's that guy now. I'm just saying in 2017, this was what was happening, and he was leading that team to victories. They were 11-2, and he was playing some of the best ball around the NFL. So I'm not so certain if he doesn't get hurt that he doesn't take that team on a run. I mean, that team they were loaded, man. They played really well together. They had a good defense. I mean, the receiving core was nice. So I'm not so quite sure that, if he doesn't get hurt, he doesn't lead that team to the Super Bowl. I think he's that same quarterback now? No, not at all.
Think about Pittsburgh don't forget about Pittsburgh in the regular season, man. They was rolling, and then they got to the playoffs, and they got stomped. I think that would have been the same thing that happened to Philly.
They also lost 3 or 4 before the playoffs started. They were also they were on the ropes going down. Right
Carson was on his way.
You gonna say that? They were in LA. He threw for the winning touchdown.
So let me throw this one out here. Maybe this is probably a better example because it involves a former Cowboy. So when Bill Parcells was here, he brings in Drew Bledsoe, and I'm doing an interview with him one day, and I said to him, if you start that Super Bowl, do you win that game? Because I don't know if you guys remember or not, they had to go to Pittsburgh. New England had to go to Pittsburgh for the AFC Championship game, and Brady got knocked out. Bledsoe comes in, throws a touchdown, and they end up winning the game through the game-winning score. And he said to me, Oh, yeah. I'd have won a Super Bowl. Like, could New England have won multiple Super Bowls with you? As they did with Tom? He's like, yep. So
that's that self-confidence, man.
Right. And it's like, okay. And what did we see him do with Dallas? Nothing. He did nothing for the Cowboys. He never got benched. Ended up getting benched for Tony Romo. Got benched again. So, until you do it, I'm with Danny on this one, man. I can't say Carson Wentz would have done it. I can't say it.
He ain't been back.
We've seen since. Yeah, we ain't seen.
Right.
We have not seen anything since, man.
You're right.
Nothing.
Ever since then, I mean, he's been slipping. It's been a slippery slope for Carson Wentz, man. And then when they hit him with the dagger when they drafted Jalen in the second round, you could just tell his confidence was shaking. Like you could just tell he just wasn't the same dude. And it just, it hurt him. And hopefully now when he goes out there with Indianapolis, Frank can get him right. But overall, I'm not so sure. He might have won that Super Bowl in 17.
Carson wasn't the same confidence wise after he seen Nick Foles come in the second time. All right, so. Once you realize, because you got to think about it, the storyline when Nick Foles came in was what Newy said. Man, these guys are playing for Nick Foles. They look different. They got the deep ball going. You think about Nick Foles' stats in the Super Bowl and think about Carson Wentz's best game stats during the regular season. I just don't see him doing that against Bill Belichick. I don't see them I think they would have won a game or two in the playoffs, but I don't see them going and beating Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. And that's not to say that Carson Wentz was going to go and play horrible. I just don't think he would have had what they needed to take him over the top. And then going into the next season, you've seen exactly what he turned into. It's been 2 years of what the heck is going on with Carson Wentz, and now he's in Indianapolis.
So for Philadelphia now, 2 questions, and you guys choose whoever wants to go first. Number 1, do you think Jalen Hurts is going to be their starting quarterback this year? Or 2, do they use their draft pick on a quarterback or something else? Philadelphia.
You go ahead, D-Mac.
Look, if you're smart, you give Jalen Hurts a chance. You see how the league is changing. They're bringing some of that college stuff into the league. They're running a lot of zone read. The quarterbacks that are mobile and can get out on the edge and still make those deep throws and sideline throws are the guys who are being successful and making the big time plays and getting deep into the playoffs. So I think Jalen Hurts can do all that. You got Miles Sanders back there who is a perfect read zone running back. Your defense can play well. If your offense is able to stay on the field a little bit longer, I think they got a shot. I think they should go get a receiver, most definitely, because they had some guys out there, who no offense to them, they just weren't number 1 guys. I think if they shore that position up, I think they'll be a little bit better.
Yeah, and for me, I don't think Jalen Hurts is the answer. I think he's I don't think he's as polished of a Lamar Jackson. And we saw what happened with Lamar Jackson. He's great in the regular season, MVP, but when he gets to the playoffs, he doesn't play quite his best ball as needed to be to get to the next round. So I don't think Jalen is nearly as good of a player as Lamar Jackson. So I don't think he's the answer. The only question with the Eagles is where do you go from here? Do you go in free agency? But there's not really a lot of options you can get right now at the free agency market. You just traded away the other quarterback, so I'm not sure where you go from here, but I don't think Jalen Hurts is the answer.
I think you got to give. How many games did he start last year, Newy?
I think he finished with 4 maybe. 4 or 5.
Oh yeah, you got to give him a full season of being the guy. You drafted him, high enough to see what he can do. I give him a shot. Like you said, Church, I'm not 100% sold on him, just based off how it ended up for him last year. He started off amazing, and then they got that film on him, but he just didn't have much time to really be the guy and learn and get connected with the guys. I think, an off season and maybe another season of him being in his sophomore year will give him a shot to see what he can really do.
When I look at the draft, I think of second-round picks as guys you expect to be starters, and preferably walk-in starters depending on the position they're in. So, to me, you give Jalen Hurts an opportunity before you spend a top 10 pick on a quarterback, especially if it's not Trevor Lawrence, who you believe, which most people are saying that's the guy to go get. So since you can't get that guy, go with Jalen Hurts. They need some offensive line up there. This is an aging team.
Yes.
They've had issues at left tackle that they just have not fixed. I just think they need to, and not just left tackle, but all along that offensive line, they've got issues. So to me, they need to go ahead and use that top 10 pick on one of these two tackles, which are really good. The kid from Northwestern, and then of course the Penei Sewell kid from Oregon. So if you can get your hands on one of those guys, you go ahead, take one of those guys. You got a new head coach. This is a rebuilding thing, in my opinion. I think it's a rebuilding year. So go see what you have at Jalen Hurts, because after the season, if he's not the guy, he's still under contract for 2 more years, and you can go get someone else, and you at least then have a capable backup in this league. In a year, to me, I'm not looking at Philadelphia to make the playoffs.
Nah.
Listen, I know of a good left tackle. His name's Trent Williams. You can go get, and there's 2 top-notch receivers that should be there. One of them should be on the board. The kid out of Alabama, and then the kid out of LSU. You go shore up your left tackle position, get you a real number 1 receiver. We didn't see what Jalen Reagor could really do, but in my opinion, I think he's just one of those vertical guys. He's just not the number 1. So shore up your offensive line, get you a wide receiver. And run that read zone, man. Run that read zone option. It makes some plays.
That's gonna work like how the Wildcat used to work. Miami, it worked for like three games back when they had Ronnie Brown doing it. Ain't no
my man Kyler Murray up there making it work, man. They can make it work. You bring the right guy in, man. Get you a system. You'll be. The game is changing, man. They putting them defensive ends and linebackers under pressure.
All right, let's take a break here. When we come back, just think of the Dallas Cowboys. If they're a sitcom, what sitcom are the Dallas Cowboys, and what is Shad Khan allowing Urban Meyer to do when it comes to hiring? We'll check in on Barry Church's old team and the mess they're making down there as the Players Lounge continues on DallasCowboys.com radio.
Hey there, Cowboys fans. With Tide Cleaners at-home pickup and delivery, cleaning your clothes has never been more convenient. Simply sign up at your local store, set out your dirty clothes, and one of our Tide Cleaners professionals will come directly to your home for a totally contactless experience. Your clean garments will be returned promptly the next scheduled delivery day, so skip the errand and enjoy life, not laundry. Visit TideCleaners.com or your local store to sign up for Tide Cleaners at-home pickup and delivery today.
Grab some OtterBox gear and get ready for hanging with the boys. From rugged venture coolers to tough as nails elevation tumblers, we've got what you need to keep your game day drinks frosty and your football feast ice cold. And with cases, screen protectors, and power accessories, you can defend your phone and stay connected to every play. Gear up at OtterBox.com and amp up the fun of every Cowboys game. That's OtterBox.com.
How great would it be to travel to watch the Cowboys win on another team's turf? Pretty great. But honestly, just watching the game from anywhere but your house would be fun. Even a hotel bar with some guy named Phil from St. Louis who thinks Oakland still has a team. So whether you're traveling to the game or watching from your favorite vacation spot, book a place to stay on Hotels.com, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
Adjust your cleats, adjust your pads, even adjust your helmet, but seriously, don't adjust your underwear because once it's seen, it cannot be unseen. Tommy John's fabric keeps you cool and dry on the field or in the stands, and now they even have loungewear. Yeah, loungewear. Shop underwear at TommyJohn.com/Cowboys for 15% off your first order. That's TommyJohn.com/Cowboys.
Back to the Players Lounge.
Hey, let Formation meet all your professional needs and channel the winning business tradition of the Dallas Cowboys and the Jones family. Enjoy custom business events developed exclusively by Cowboys front office staff, exclusive amenities, and so much more. Join our community and enjoy the home field advantage of having your business address on Cowboys Way. For more details or to book a tour, visit The Formation at thestar.com. That's Formation at thestar.com. Newy Scruggs, this is Players Lounge, brought to you by Hotels.com. Barry Church and Danny McCray are former Dallas Cowboys safeties. We are happy that Church is here. I thought he might have gone to Cancun with Ted Cruz to get away from this bad weather.
That's how y'all gonna do me, man.
He decided to stick it out with us here. Come on, McCray, you didn't know? Chris Bean, tell the truth.
That's crazy.
I had no idea. I had no idea.
That's how y'all gonna do me. That's why. Oh, I'm here, man. I'm sticking it out, man. I'm here with y'all, man.
We're not even sure he really at home, man. I need proof.
He had the Ritz-Carlton.
Hey, I'll tell you what, man. Hey, we're friends like y'all, man. I tell you what, man. This is wild. I see you, Newy. I see.
I'm just glad you're here, man. I saw Ted Cruz. Oh, man, he was hanging with Barry. He in church when down there at Cowboys. Get away.
Oh, man.
Want to get away?
Hey, man.
My man hopped the flight out of the city of Houston and went to camp. Man, look here, bro. All right.
Said his daughter wanted to get some sunlight. She needed that vitamin D, man. She had to get up out of there. That's wild, man.
Come on, bro. And you listen. If I ever see somebody, it was a bad week for the state of Texas, man. But especially for the city of Houston and those people that's running, it was bad. It was a bad look.
Ooh-wee. All right, so we're just laughing and having a little bit of fun right there. But Church, you raised a pretty interesting question. And you said if the Dallas Cowboys were a sitcom, a comedy sitcom, who would they be? I struggled trying to find one. So who do you have?
Man, I struggled as well a little bit. I was thinking about it. I said, what sitcoms or what shows have I watched over the years to kind of compare this Dallas Cowboys team to overall? And for me, it would have to be, I think it was season 3 or season 4 of Entourage. And that's what I'm going to compare it to. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I think in one of those seasons, the main guy, the actor, I forget his name or what his name was in the show, but the main dude, Vince. And one of the seasons, he's just like, you know what? I'm going to take a break from this acting stuff. I'm going to lay low for a while. And you saw how the rest of the crew just was like, man, what are we going to do? This is our guy. This is the bread. This is how are we going to make it without Vince? And they just started going crazy, going in all their separate ways, had no way to do anything without Vince, without his acting career. So harping that back to the Dallas Cowboys, what happened? We lost our main star. We lost Dak Prescott. Next thing you know, we're 7-9. You got 4 different quarterbacks out there. You got anonymous reports coming from the locker room. The coaches can't coach. The DC's getting fired. Everything is going haywire because the main guy said, you know what, I'm out. He didn't have a say in it. He got injured, but he was gone. So to me, I think it's about season 3 or 4 of Entourage, and I think that's a good comparison.
Oh man, okay, you went a totally different direction than I did, but I like the way you put that together. I'm gonna go. Listen, I thought the question was specifically for the defense, so I'm gonna just do mine for the Dallas Cowboys defense. And I recently started watching this show that I'm sure both of y'all heard of, and it's called The Office. And listen,
wait, you just now on The Office?
I just now started.
Oh man, that's classic, man. Oh, Michael Scott, man.
Michael Scott. Let me tell you something. He's so bad at his job that it's funny. And that defensive coordinator that we had last season was so bad at his job. We came on this podcast and we just had to laugh out of anger at what some of the players were doing and some of the decisions that were being made. So that paper company that my man Michael Scott is running, that's what we had.
That's PA, baby.
That's what we had running.
Who's Dale, though? Who's Dale? That's what I want to know. Who's Dale, man?
I ain't giving you that. I'm not talking about the people like that. I ain't talking about that. Oh, that was Worley.
That was Worley. Worley was right about that one. Hey, cover 3. Hey, that's my guy right there.
That was Worley, man.
Hey, that was a good one. I like that, D-Mac. I like that. Okay.
All right, so Danny, that's crazy because I just started watching The Office this week. My oldest daughter, Savannah, watches it all the time. Oh. Right, so I just watched the pilot episode, and then I finished Diversity Day yesterday, which is the second episode. And I'm not lying when you thought that was like, man, this is the Cowboys, man. You got Michael Scott. Remember the mug he had, world's best boss? I'm like,
did y'all get to the episode of basketball yet, where they played the warehouse crew?
The warehouse crew, yeah.
No, I've not got there yet, but I did think about, it's the Cowboys, man. And then I could see Mike Nolan being Dwight down there. I've got to give him They tell him to go pick the company benefits. He's supposed to pick up the benefits, cut all the benefits. I'm like, that's Mike Nolan. He gonna come up and, hey, Mike, we need you to select the defense. I got it. No problem at all. Like, what's in this defense, man? There's nothing in this defense. This is not a good defense. Don't worry about it. And just, that's them, man. So Yeah. I thought The Office kind of fit the Cowboys and what's been going on.
Summed it up right.
Here, but,
summed it up right.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty good. Church, man, I was really concerned when I saw your old team. Urban Meyer gonna run out there and try and slide Chris Doyle as the sports performance coach in charge of sports performance coach, and he got fired from Iowa for basically being a bigot. and Urban Meyer, we vetted him. Our GM, our owner, we vetted him. 24 hours later, he gonna accept the resignation. I'm like, man, what are these guys
college, man.
doing? And that was my thing. You guys had played the game. How did you take it? And what was your thoughts about if you had to go to work and deal with a guy like Chris Doyle? We talk so much about a strength coach, about what happens in that room with the passing of Marcus Paul. And then they try to slide in a dude like Chris Doyle who's sitting right here telling players, I'm going to send you back to the ghetto. I didn't get that one.
I'll tell you what, man. I didn't get it at all. It was... And before I found out he resigned, I'm just like, man, they can hire him if they want to, but his stuff ain't gonna fly in that locker room. I could tell you for sure, for a fact, dealing with those college players is gonna be a lot different than dealing with those players in the NFL. Because you can get away with saying some stuff to these kids, they're only 18, 19 years old, but you go around and try to say that to a grown man, 28, 29 years old with kids and a mortgage. I mean, some bad things are gonna happen to you. So I thought for sure if he got that sign, I mean, there was gonna be a couple weight room fights and something was gonna happen, but I'm glad he resigned because it just wasn't going to work out. It's too much backlash, too much of a distraction. It wouldn't have worked out.
Yeah, listen, I'm gonna say this and leave it just where I end this at. All right, for me, all right, we've been going through this whole year with everybody doing the racial injustice and everybody realizing how wrong it is and all that stuff. I'm gonna tell you this: the racism for me and all that is a non-starter. It's a non-starter. You can everybody has these conversations about, hey, talking and figure out what the other person was thinking and where they coming from and all that stuff. When you start off with thinking and talking the way that somebody like Doyle was talking, it's a non-starter for me. So walking in that locker room and trying to go in the weight room, he's getting no words. He's getting no words. I want to hear from the Iowa players exactly what they said. And if it's as bad as what I think it is, I ain't talking to the cat.
Yeah.
We kept hearing people say, we're having conversations. Let's continue the conversation. And I immediately thought to myself, Urban Meyer ain't having no conversations, because if you had a conversation with any of your players, one of your players, which played at Iowa, and you talked to any of your Jaguar players, you'd have seen, hey, man, this isn't the time. No, I don't want to work with that guy. There's so many credible people you could find who have NFL experience that you didn't have to go bring in a guy who was fired at Iowa and they paid him $1 million to go away to come into the professional atmosphere with this kind of reputation. It just speaks so hollow about what the NFL said. Well, we're having conversations and equality and everything else when you got a guy who's out here doing this. And I immediately thought to myself, what all did that man get away with at Florida and at Ohio State and at Utah because people was afraid to say something to the guy because he was the head football coach at their university who's supposed to be making money for him?
Who's signing off on these things? It's remarkable to me that he was even able to get a job in the NFL. I'm talking about the strength Doyle guy. To me, it's just like, who signs off on these things? Is it Shad Khan, or is he too busy doing this, that, and the third, to where he's just like, Urban handle that, and Urban goes out here and does his thing and ends up having repercussions. So then Shad Khan stepped in and said, hey, we can't do this. I don't know who's signing off on this, but it was an ugly and bad deal from the jump.
You heard the presser. The presser, he said, they just got to trust their coach. And he's like, I vetted it. I mean, he tried that, just what Danny said. He tried that old college thing. I'm in charge. I got this. I'm Urban Meyer. And next thing you know, Fritz Powder lines came out, crack, crack, crack. And Twitter got to. Everybody was like, man, this isn't right. I mean, it was just... he was as bad as Ted Cruz was trying to explain that trip. Well, I didn't try to, it was hilarious. It was hilarious, but I just immediately thought of when I keep hearing over and over people talk, and not just in football, but you keep hearing people, we're having these conversations now. No, we're not having conversations. People just trying to say whatever they think is going to make people feel good. Because if anybody had a conversation, they'd have told you, hey man, Chris Doyle does not need to be in the NFL. I don't know that this man has taken any any diversity courses since he got run off Iowa. I haven't heard this man apologize. I mean, I haven't seen any contrition from this guy. I mean, Kyle Larson, who was the NASCAR driver who got fired for using the N-word during a virtual race, this is a guy who actually did go to some diversity training and tried to put forth some effort here. I didn't see Chris Doyle do anything, because if he did, Urban Meyer would sure enough would have run it out there and told you, okay, he worked with the NAACP chapter of the Urban League. He did this. He didn't do anything. Nothing. Just took his check and left. And for the Jaguars to sign off on that and just say it was all good, and then Urban Meyer tried to drag his GM and the owner in there. Well, if I'm the GM and owner, I'm mad. Like, hey, man, this was your guy. I didn't know this dude. You said this dude was good. You said you had it all straight. You didn't. It blows up in your face, and then you try to say, we're a part of this? Ain't no we. This is you. You get out here. You take this bullet. I'm telling you. Don't try and sit up here. But he did that. Look. I mean, you check out the note. He said, we forgot to include the general manager in our initial statement of the resignation. Like, no, you running things. You the guy getting $12 million a year.
Well, listen. The GM and the owner still don't get let off the hook, because the stuff that happened in Iowa was already known, right? So you're gonna be cutting the checks for this guy. You didn't even have to vet him that hard to know the history of what was going on. What questions are you asking to do? Like you said, Newy, there's no history of him going to try to correct this and make this thing right. So, once you see that this guy's getting hired, you already know what his history is. You hadn't seen anything where he did some type of training or some type of apology. As a GM and owner, you say, oh, no, man, I got to step back from this, especially in 2020 and 2021. If it's any time for you to be realizing that this is the wrong move to make, it's now. So I don't see how that slipped through the cracks for the head coach, the owner, and the GM.
GM gets off. Here's why I give the GM the pass here. Because that situation is set up where Urban Meyer, like John Gruden with the Raiders, they're the boss. And Pete Carroll up in Seattle, they're the boss, and the person who they approved the general manager. It's like Andy Reid in Kansas City. He approved the general manager who works for him. He just has his title. But we know at the end of the day, the decision is Urban Meyer's. Just like the decision is Bill Belichick's in New England, Pete Carroll's in Seattle, John Gruden's out there, the Raiders. Mike Mayock ain't telling John Gruden what to do. John Gruden telling Mike Mayock what to do. So that's why I looked at that and I just kind of laughed that he brought the GM in. It's like, dude, he's your guy. He's your friend. You're the one that came out and said, I know him from Utah. I've known him forever. I mean, this was you. And then you took through the owner. I mean, how do you get to throw your owner under the bus like that? Could you imagine if Mike McCarthy was out here trying to throw Jerry Jones under the bus over some stuff that he did? No. I mean, that's the arrogance of this man. I'm going to blame this billionaire man over here. I'm going to blame this billionaire and say he knew. He knew. He was a part of this. That's crazy.
It's true. I mean, it's been like that for a while with Urban. You know, when things start to get sticky, when things start to get a little, I don't know. Hey, you know who's the first one out the door? That boy Urban. So for me, I don't know. That's the only thing that worries about me. That's the only thing that worries me with him in Jacksonville is, hey, this thing's getting a little sticky. We ain't won it a little bit. I think I'm going to go ahead and get up out of here.
So you said he about to have a health condition. That's what you said?
Hey, I don't know how he's getting up out of there, but if things get sticky, you know what? I think I'm gonna go back to the broadcast booth.
It's funny. Isn't he Fred Sanford? Remember anything happened? He faked the heart attack. Oh, Elizabeth's not coming to join you. That's Urban Meyer. Oh, the streets got fired. Oh, Elizabeth,
my neck and my back.
Listen, this story. I ran track with a guy back in high school, and he was the fastest guy on the football team for a while. But when he got to the track, if he was losing after the takeoff, my man was pulling the hamstring. He was pulling the hamstring, and he was back at school on Monday with no limp or nothing. It was just tight. Every time that he came out, he was losing. I said,
he come back to school on Monday out there breakdance, you know.
Yeah, like, bro, ain't nothing wrong with you, bro. You was finna lose. So listen, he might say he ain't never lost the race in high school.
Right. All right, fellas. Good stuff here. Good stuff here on a Friday. We'll do it again, 11:30 Central next Friday. Players Lounge is back. So, tell your friends. If you're watching us on Twitter, retweet it. We appreciate it. Follow us on Twitter. I'm at Newy Scruggs, NEWYSCRUGGS. DMAC, where can they find you at?
At Danny DMAC44 on Twitter. At Danny_McCray40 on Instagram.
For me, it's at Barry Church 42, and that's for Instagram and Twitter.
All right, fellas, great stuff. Producer Chris Bean, we appreciate you. Everyone, please stay safe out there and take care of your neighbors whenever you can here. For all of us here at the Players Lounge, we're thinking about everybody here in the state of Texas that's going through this winter blast, and we hope that everything gets better in the next coming days and everyone can get power and good water. Until we could, do this show again on Friday, take care, everyone. We'll be praying for you. Goodbye.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!